Welcome to the final episode of Series 44, everyone. We have a great discussion episode ready for you soon, but first, some announcements.
First off, there are just a few days left to back Haunted Hill Academy on Kickstarter, and they need your help to fund. Please check out the show notes if you haven't yet, and let's see if we can get them to the finish line. If you want to hear more about it before you back, we have a spotlight episode with creator Jeffrey Hayes, which was a ton of fun. We put that out earlier in the month. It was a blast creating those characters. He specifically made Necromancer and Magical Girl.
Just for us.
Yeah, categories just for us. Nate has listened to that episode like 3 times and keeps asking me when the game comes out. So please, you know what, everyone, don't disappoint Nate.
Yeah, do it for Nate.
Do it for Nate. I mean, also do it for Jeffrey, because it was, you know, a very cool game. Yeah. But I think fans of our show will find a lot there. It's also made for 2 players, but has an option for more. But I feel like it's hard to find fun 2-player games. So I'm actually looking forward to that part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so check out the link in our show notes and please help that game fund.
For sure. Another Kickstarter that just opened up is the Questlandia RPG, updated and expanded by the One Shot Network's very own Hannah and Evan, hosts of the Design Doc podcast. After years of work, they are finally bringing this to fruition, and it's really great to see how far the game has come from its early days. We will have a link to that one also in the show notes.
Yes, and I actually saw Hannah posted this morning that she's got to have some dental surgery. And so if you back, you can own like 2% of one of her teeth if you want.
Yep.
So, you know, if you're
it's a thing that can happen.
Yeah, if you're into owning teeth, you know, you can be the proud owner of 2% of one of Hannah's teeth.
Exactly. And if you really go all out, you could make that 100%.
You could.
If you really wanted.
If you really wanted. Next up, a Catacon event registration is live for everyone. Ryan and I are both going to be there officially. It is officially official, 2 weeks away. I think I have my life sorted out that I can really go. It wasn't for sure until like 2 days ago. But yeah, we'll be there. We both have some events planned, so please check those out. I will be running Arium Create for 2 sessions that weekend. I think they are already filled, but you can obviously get on the wait list in case somebody cancels. It is an awesome world-building game. It was one of the NES nominees this year that I just fell in love with. Ryan has 2 games of Chimera planned. I don't know if you still have spots or not. It's a waiting list.
I think I've got a waiting list for one of them. And one of them has 1 slot open as of the time of this recording. Yeah.
And then you have some of Our Final Gathering. You have 1 game of that as well, which, by the way, dear friends, if you want to know what that game is about, there is a bonus episode in the One Shot Secret Archive of us trying that out with Tracy Barnett.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're mostly sold out of things, but you can always get on the wait list. But fear not, we have a live panel that we are doing. I know, that has plenty of spots left. Saturday at 10 a.m. for 2 hours. We are going to be creating random characters with the audience, where we have everybody in the audience roll on random tables, and then we try and make it make sense.
Yep.
It was so much fun last time. I know that the 2019 panel is recorded and it's in our feed somewhere. So you can certainly check that out as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Bring your dice, people, because there'll be a lot of rolling, and we'll get everybody involved in our shenanigans.
Yeah, it was so much fun last time. I'll be bringing dice. I am going to start scouring my books to find out what random tables we can roll on.
Absolutely.
But it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
And I believe we still have the ones from last year. So
yes. We rolled on some Palladium tables. We did the hat table from Honey Heist. We did, it was a lot of good stuff. Some Shadowrun stuff. Yeah,
we got to bring it all back. So, and then add a whole bunch more and see how it goes.
So please come, because it won't work if we don't have an audience.
Exactly.
We can start rounding people up when we're there. We'll just be like, come on down.
Come on down.
Like Price is Right.
Absolutely. Finally, we have a new bonus episode in the One Shot Network Secret Archive. You can hear Amelia and myself, along with Tracy Burnett. We just talked about this. Create characters for my first released RPG, Our Final Gathering, The Dreaded Reflections of the Immortal Soul. I just like saying that title because it's so fun.
It is.
It's a blend of Reflections, Dread, and the Highlander series. So if you're part of the network Patreon at the $5 or higher level, you can check that out right now. It was a ton of fun showcasing this game, especially with Amelia and Tracy.
And you can hear how little I know about Highlander.
Exactly. And how little you still know about Highlander.
I think I know less now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all we have for announcements today. We know it was a lot, but you can check out the show notes and find all of that info there. Please meet us back here after the show for our call to action, and stay after that for the outtakes from this series. Until then, enjoy the show. Welcome back to our discussion episode. Last time, we finished our session 0 for Call of Cthulhu. This episode, we will be discussing the character creation process. We are thrilled to welcome back James Coquillat. Do you want to reintroduce yourself to everyone and tell us about the character you made last time?
For sure, yes. Thank you very much for having me. I am James, and I work for Chaosium. You can find me on Twitter as RoboPelican, and you can catch me streaming Call of Cthulhu on the Chaosium Twitch and YouTube channels. My character is Gregoire Moulinier, the most obnoxious artist in the world. I very much picture them as somebody who is stomping around their apartment, flinging paint, hurling abuse at people. They are a talented artist, though. I've given them a huge arts and craft painting score, but I've also given them intimidate and library use and occult and all kinds of vicious things that are absolutely critical to the artist's playbook.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, I love it so much. Ryan, do you want to tell us about your character?
Absolutely. So I am playing Agatha Valliere, a.k.a. Sybil. Agatha kind of took over the identity of her sibling, who was killed in the past, thinking that Sybil, her sibling, was her, Agatha. Not confusing at all. We're twins. That's why. Because Agatha was on hard times financially while Sybil was thriving financially. And to not let the family fortune go to waste, Agatha took over Sybil's identity, and Sybil's death was penned as Agatha's death. So now I'm leading a double life, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to go back to my original life.
So not complicated at all. Super clear to understand.
It's very, yeah. It's a trope for a reason.
Yep. Sybil and or Agatha.
Yep, it's exactly. Amelia, how about yourself?
I created Winifred Slaughter, who is a bartender and owner of the Slaughterhouse, which is a speakeasy. Winifred is large and slightly intimidating, but also knows a lot about medicine, first aid, that kind of stuff. All the things that you would need to know in running a obviously extremely reputable establishment where no one is ever poisoned ever. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And there's definitely no backroom gambling happening at all.
No, not even a little bit.
Why would you even ask that, officer?
Well, let's go ahead and dive right into a segment we are calling D20 for Your Thoughts.
D20 for Your Thoughts?
In this segment, we talk to our guests about their thoughts on the character creation process and how it relates to this system and other games. But first, we are going to ask the cliche question and get it out of the way. James, how did you first get into RPGs?
Oh, gosh, that's a good question. So I have, a extended family that are pretty involved in tabletop role-playing games. So I was going to end up in there at some point. But I think that my first experience was when I was living in France, in the suburbs of Paris, when I was a little kid. And I was living in the attic of my aunt and uncle's place, and there was this wall of comic books, which I remember very, very fondly. And I had worked my way through them bit by bit by bit over the month that I was there. And finally, I'd read every single comic book available, including some which definitely were not appropriate for kids. But I came down and was asking for more books. And I was given a book by my cousin, who it was a D&D second edition book, or the Guide du Maître pour Donjons et Dragons in French, and it was the only thing that I had. So I went up and I read it, and I completely fell in love with it. I was absolutely obsessed with tabletop role-playing games from that day forward, and I was playing all kinds of stuff with my friends all through my childhood. TTRPGs of a different name that I didn't really know them to be TTRPGs yet, just sort of like playing games with our imagination and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. When I was a teenager, Mark Morrison of Campaign Coins, and who is a writer for Chaosium as well, along with a variety of other exciting things, gave me a Call of Cthulhu handbook for my birthday, and that sort of formally moved me into the more established tabletop role-playing game scene. So yeah.
Very cool.
You had that like family trajectory that I think a lot of people seem to start with, of like, oh, I had a cousin or an uncle or something like that kind of hands you stuff and is like, have fun, kid.
Yeah. That tends to be the way. It was huge. I have a lot of those really fond memories of scanning through a book when I was very, very young and just being amazed by every little bit that you read and going, wow.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I still have my my French rule book of Dungeons and Dragons, I think, second edition out there.
Oh, nice.
That's really cool.
That is really
That's
cool.
really cool.
Well, what do you look for in a system as far as character creation? What pieces need to be there for great characters to happen?
I tend to be pretty relaxed with what systems I play. I'm fond of most games out there. And I will enjoy most character creation systems. That said, the ones I tend to enjoy more tend to be the ones that provide a little bit more detail. I'm not shy of crunch in systems. I think that Call of Cthulhu and the BRP systems in general are a nice level of crunch, but I don't mind diving in to something that has a little more mechanics, work that you need to do in deciding exactly what the optimal build is and things like that. But I really like games that give you a lot to work with, that give you prompts for your characters, that give you exciting things and exciting ideas. I love backstory stuff, and if games don't really have, a great deal of information that they help you develop about your character uniquely, then I find it a little bit difficult to get into them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've found that too, that a lot of games that have, even like small prompts for those backstories, or like just like those little questions that they kind of ask along the way, make it a lot easier for me to feel attached to what I'm making and more invested in it, rather than just like, I don't know, here's some numbers. Mm-hmm. Because as we've learned, I don't really like math to begin with, but it is hard to like come up with an idea of who a person is based on like, okay, I know their strength, their dexterity, that kind of stuff. And I think we saw here for us that like when we got into some of those backstory, like rolling on those tables, we started to see who our characters were. For Ryan, it's like the whole thing now. It really came together there. And I like that kind of stuff in games.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do we think that character creation in Call of Cthulhu stacks up against other systems that we've played?
Well, I think that the frailty of the characters is a central point of Call of Cthulhu, and I think the character creation experience sort of underlines that. One of the typical trajectories for people getting into Call of Cthulhu is that they come across from a game like Dungeons and Dragons. And I remember personally coming across from Dungeons and Dragons, rolling up my character in Call of Cthulhu, and suddenly realizing, oh my God, just the process of rolling these dice and having a lot of control taken away from me from my character, and seeing how little health I had, and seeing that I really wasn't this grand hero and didn't have a lot of tricks up my sleeve to keep me alive, really changed my perspective on what the game was going to be. It showed me that I was going to have to play in a different way. I think that the themes that Call of Cthulhu has around the insignificance of the individual compared to the grander horrors that are going on, and the sort of slow burn, the more focus on backstory, the more focus on character development come through in the character creation process. Like you said, those backgrounds really do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, it was really interesting seeing how low some of those percentages start. And it really kind of gave you the sense that you're not going to be amazing at a lot of things. And it really kind of hit home that, if you don't put points into this thing, you're going to be at 5% for success. And that's wildly low for really good success.
Yeah.
Especially when you realize that you're rolling a D100 to get there, right? You translate that to a D20 system, and that's like, okay, you only succeed if you're rolling at 20. And goodness, that's not too many people would agree that sounds powerful.
Right. I think it's, I said before when we were making characters too, that it is very different from that, like, I come in and I'm the hero of the story, like this larger than life character. And I think it is one that you probably have to come in with. We talk all the time about like the importance of a session zero and understanding what kind of game you're getting into and that kind of stuff. But one that you need to come into understanding that like failure is going to happen. And that's okay, because I've definitely played with people who are not okay with failing rolls.
Right.
And friends, this is not the game for you.
The Call of Cthulhu is definitely a game where you want to be pushing yourself and really embracing failure. There's also a fantastic mechanic in Call of Cthulhu called the push mechanic, which is when you fail a roll, you can choose to push the roll. And that means that you get a free re-roll, but you take an enhanced penalty. So, for example, say that you're trying to climb up something, scale up to a second floor window so you can break in. If you fail the roll, you might say, oh, you can't find a handhold. You're not going to be able to make it. But if you decide to push the roll, you get to re-roll. You may succeed, but if you fail, you're going to fall and you might break a leg on the way down.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I love systems that have those kinds of things, though, because I think in fiction, it's, you have a character say, no, this is something that's really important to me and I do need to try harder. That you wouldn't just go, okay, I can't, I guess I'll move on. That there are those times where you say, like, I know it's risky, but I need to be able to do this because my character really would put everything into it. And so I really appreciate games that have those systems to like take that added risk and say, no, this is something like I need to do this. Yeah.
I also really loved rolling for things. And I was very happy that I was able to roll for all my stats. We haven't covered too many games that are like, here, roll your stats.
Yeah.
Which has been very surprising over these years. Because I came from games that were like, you only roll your stats. And so the more games that we got into that were like, okay, here, pick these stats, or here's your base stats, adjust them a little bit, or whatever, or we don't even have stats in this game.
Yeah, we haven't played a lot of like, quote unquote, like modern games that have random stat generation, have we?
Yeah, not too many. So I was very thrilled to see that we actually rolled for our attributes here. I
have a hard time with it. Like, I know I have a hard time with it
I know.
because I'm like, I don't want to be, because I can't put all my points into intelligence because I can't. It's like that's, that decision is made for me and I have a really difficult time as a player. I know what I want.
I don't give up that little bit of agency, right?
Right. I mean, it definitely leads to a very different character than I would have picked for myself, which is good. Mm-hmm. It's fun to like play outside the box sometimes. And, I definitely do enjoy the act of rolling. I don't know how I feel about it for like a long campaign and something that I know that I need to be attached to, but, yeah, it's definitely a very different vibe when you roll for those stats than it is when you don't.
So there are, as I mentioned in the previous episode, there are options for using an array system to generate your skills and things like that. Oh, lovely. So
yeah, I was sure that if there wasn't one in the book, somebody had written one somewhere because there are people like me out there.
Absolutely. And it's also worth mentioning that in general, in Call of Cthulhu, since your characters are just so frail anyway, a couple of points here and there doesn't make a huge difference. So a lot of the keepers that I've played with, and when I'm keeping myself, I tend to not mind people, changing a stat or two or a detail if someone says, hey, I really want to play a character that looks like this, but I rolled this. It's pretty easy to change something. Sure. It's not going to break the integrity of the game in the same way that making a change in Dungeons and Dragons might, because obviously it's such a mechanically important game.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So how does the character creation process reinforce the feel of Call of Cthulhu and set expectations for play?
Well, I think that
because my thought is like it sets you up for dealing with percentages, right? And thinking percentages and thinking halves and fifths of percentages and all that sort of stuff. And like the whole act of rolling your attributes, right? 3d6 or 2d6 plus 6, and then multiply that times 5. You're converting all of this stuff into percentages, which is really fascinating to me. And then throughout play, when you roll stuff, you're going to be rolling percentages for the most part, right?
Absolutely.
So I also think, though, from like rolling the stats, the thing that it tells me is that this game has the potential to be very swingy. Yeah. That like it's, like you have the potential to like succeed greatly, but also to fail miserably. That like there is a wide range of way things can go. It's not, it is still that bell curve of like the majority of things are going to happen within that first standard deviation. But that there is a lot that can happen out on those edges too, that you're not going to like consistently. There are those games where it's like, okay, I'm going to succeed pretty much every time, and a failure is going to be really like out of the question. And this is like, no, if you stick to the things that you know how to do, you're pretty okay. You could do really well depending on how you allotted your points, but like you also could do really badly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that those are both very interesting points. I think that addressing what you were talking about the swinginess of the system, I think that, it's interesting. Obviously, in some sense, it is a really, really clear, super simple percentage system. If you have 70 in something, you are going to succeed 70% of the time. And you can really clearly see what is behind all of the maths. In fact, I know some people who really like that aspect of it, that there's no doubt. And I know that some people who like a little bit of mystery and they like to be rolling kind of dice pools and not sort of be sure where things are going to go, rather than looking at a stat and knowing exactly what the potential for something is.
Yeah.
There are obviously degrees of success and failure. What I think is maybe pulls it back from being super swingy is that a failure by 50 points and a failure by 3 points are functionally the same. Unless you fumble, you're really not going to be facing, scaling penalties. And if you fall behind by a lot in certain systems, you can really, really suffer for it.
Sure. Which I do appreciate. Like that's, I do like when I like that there's fumbles. I like that, like, there are times when you can be like, oh, I just really, really messed that up. Because I think it, especially in a system that, you know, that you are going to fail a decent amount of the time. It keeps it interesting rather than like, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It doesn't, you know, it kind of keeps things moving a little bit and keeps it interesting. And I'm also one of those people that like, I a lot of the time enjoy failing. I find failing to be more interesting just because I, again, like I said, like bad things to happen. It's just, it's fun for me. But I like when there are sort of, you know, there's a little bit of a delineation between like, it doesn't work and like, oh, it goes wrong.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that, having that. And if you enjoy failure, you kind of, that sliding scale becomes even more important.
Absolutely.
To answer what you were saying just before, though, about how it gets you thinking in terms of percentiles, I think that's very true. And I have usually found the BRP system and Call of Cthulhu in particular is just so easy to teach to people. It's a great convention game because you can really sort of get people across the basics of it in about 5 minutes. And if there is a question that somebody has, it's really, really easy to answer. The character creation process here, although the mathematics are a little bit tough in terms of getting those characters through, when you immediately look at them, you hear that you've got, 270 points that you need to assign. And you go, oh my God, that's a lot of points. But in reality, it's pretty simple. And once you go through the process of character creation, you're basically ready to play. You get it. You've seen what the system does.
Yeah. And I have to say that like allocating those points isn't hard. For me, it's more a matter of like, I have that choice paralysis generally. So it's like, you have choices and now you have to make them. And I'm like, oh, I hate choices more than I hate math. So, it's like allocating 200 points and being like 10 here, 12 here, that's not so bad. So like, I think if you gave me 15, 20 minutes at a convention, I would handle it. I would love for somebody to highlight my sheet for me and be like, these are the ones you should pick. And then I can decide how much goes into what. But yeah, I could see this being a super easy one to show up and just like have somebody hand me a sheet and say, spread these points out. Yeah,
and that's that really works in convention play. Often it's one you have pre-written characters for one shots that are glued into the story in some way, and for longer campaigns, at least the ones that are pre-written by Chaosium, generally they start with something that says, look, when you're creating characters, these are the ones that are going to be most useful. So as a keeper, you should be saying to your players exactly what you've just suggested. Highlight, survival and pilot boat and things like that. And be like, you might need these, pay attention.
Right. Yeah, which is why, again, what a session 0 is for is to say, like, here's the kind of game that we're playing. So I don't show up with, all of my points in ride. And everybody's like, we're going to be on a train, though, actually. So not a lot of horses.
But we're riding the train.
Oh, great. I am the best passenger. My manners are impeccable. I roll ride.
I do like how with and I kind of talked about this before, with the percentages so low, it is kind of leaning into that failure part, but that's especially important for a horror game, right?
Yes.
Because
we didn't even talk about that.
Because failure it drives the horror, right? If you're constantly
and it has consequences of its own besides just like you don't do it, you think about like locksmith or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like I go to pick a lock and you can't do it. It's not just like, well, I guess we don't open that door. It's like, oh crap, now we can't escape.
Yeah. Oh, there's this thing chasing us and I failed the lockpick and now we're stuck here with no way out. How do we get out of this?
Yeah.
As this monstrosity is stalking us from the darkness.
You're absolutely right. And that makes failures feel much, much more severe when one mistaken roll can be the difference between life or death.
Yeah.
Talking about the character sheet specifically, one of the other things that the character creation process sort of touches on is the way that the story is going to focus on the building of horror slowly and on investigation and on downtime. Just looking at it, you can see that there are skills like accounting. There are skills like anthropology. There are skills like appraise. These skills that don't necessarily fit into the immediate action-packed tropes that you might expect jumping into a game.
Yeah, that's true too. There are not very many skills that are related to combat at all. It's like dodge, firearms, fighting.
Yeah.
And it's like most of the other ones are sort of, you know, quote unquote downtime activities, you know. It's pretty limited as far as like, you know, just beating stuff up.
Yeah. But which tells you that the game's going to be a lot of mundane stuff mostly throughout, and you're just mundane characters trying to survive a situation, right?
Right. Or that those, you know, that those sort of, I really hate the word mundane, but like that those, you know, sort of like low key activities are going to be what a lot of the actual story and narrative is centered around. That it's not going to be about those big battles like it is in D&D, where it's, you know, it's like we go out and we fight the thing, and like fighting that thing is the central point of a session. And this is going to be a lot about like preparing for that, and, you know, like all of the things around dealing with the big bad.
Absolutely.
It's the slow creeping horror. It's the mystery. It's the opportunity to really make your characters sing. And it's the opportunity to also explore really unique and interesting historical environments.
Yeah. And it does a good job of highlighting that, I think. And again, I think highlighting, you know, because those base starting percentages are right on the sheet there too. It does a good job of highlighting the fact that like, you know, you're not great at stuff. You're not going to be overwhelmingly amazing. I'm trying to like look through and see like what is the thing that you start out best at, and it's like, I guess, fighting or firearms maybe. But most everything else, spot hidden.
Spot hidden, 25%.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is like the 1, 5, 10 range.
Which is so low.
Right, when you're, out of 100,
Absolutely.
So
You've
low.
basically got a snowflake's chance in hell of getting through it, and you try your best, and sometimes it works, and then of course you get to advance that skill if you succeeded in a roll, but I guess we'll talk about that when we break into advancement in more detail.
Yeah. So you're telling me there's a chance, right?
Yes. A very tiny one.
Well, we kind of answered the next question about the story that the character sheets tell, right? So I think we can go right to the next one of what do you think is the biggest flaw of character creation in this system, and what's one of your favorite parts?
So I think that in terms of flaws, I think that sort of comes with the perspective that you come in from with that kind of like attitude of being wanting to be a hero and wanting to you know, power game and create something that is very, very, you know, strong and mechanically optimized. And I think that some people come into Call of Cthulhu and they will look at the stats and they will say, why is it counting here? Why would I pick accounting when I can pick, you know, one of the gun stats or spot hidden? And if you want a power game Call of Cthulhu, it's not super difficult. You start looking up and down, you start thinking, okay, I'll take some spot hidden, I'll take some dodge, I'll take some of this, I'll take some of that, you know, I'll bump up my credit rating to massive so I don't have to worry about any of that sort of detail. And that is really a flaw, that it is exploitable, but it's also kind of part of it shows how the game is focusing on something different. So, you know, you can be this, you know, very, very specific type of character that is perhaps going to, you know, ensure their own survival and ensure that they're able to kind of shoot very, very well at most monsters. And unless you hit one of the admittedly many monsters that are just immune to bullets and that humans cannot kill, you're going to be able to fight your way out of most situations. But that type of character doesn't tend to be the funnest type of character to play in Call of Cthulhu. And in fact, they can be kind of, you know, difficult at a table, especially if the rest of the table are all very into the idea of the game and are running around, you know, going into the library. And you've got this lone ranger gunslinger who is going, well, I don't really have anything to do here. And if they're not into the roleplay aspect, can feel kind of isolated.
I think that type of character really would lend well to the bumbling action hero trope. Right? Somebody that's just there for the guns. That would be a great way
to like role play it, of like, okay, I'm here and we're going to take down the monster, and everybody being like, okay, here's a book I need you to research, and being like, I don't speak Latin or Greek. but I can shoot it in the face. Like that. And everybody else around the table being like, actually you can't because it's immune to bullets. And
yeah, absolutely. And that can be such a fun trope. I definitely love playing the character who's going to run head on in. But yeah, it can be tough if you come in with an idea that you can look at the system and go, this isn't balanced, and it's not. And that is a flaw for some players. Is Call of Cthulhu suitable for every player type? Maybe it should be. I think that, there you go. So it's a flaw in some senses. But the best part of the character creation process, look, for me, I think that it is just the way that it sparks so many ideas. You look at this and you immediately have all these crazy concepts that are just throwing themselves at you. You start rolling ideologies, you start looking at your stats, and almost immediately something exciting will show itself to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll agree with that. I had no idea going into this what I was going to have even remotely. And then once everything's just started lining up, I'm like, all right, this makes sense now. This makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like it fell into place really easily. And I think a lot of people we record with kind of have the same sort of like a flaw in their games, saying that, like, if you come in expecting this kind of thing, this game isn't going to do that. And I totally respect that, but like that's why there are so many different games, because like it might not be the game for you, and that's okay. I think that's more a flaw in the player than the game. But I think you're right that it has, if you want to come in and be the hero and save the world, it might not be what you want. But I think it signposts that at so many places along the way that if you get past character creation and you sit down and you're like, I'm going to play this game, and you're like still ready to be the hero, then like that's on you. Yeah. Like you missed so many flags along the way.
And then grab Pulp Cthulhu and you can shoot stuff in the face. So
there you go.
There you go.
There are options available.
Absolutely.
This is our favorite part of the show. Where we do our fan fiction. We like to talk about our character stories, how this group ended up as a group. Like, what are we doing? How does this game go?
Yeah.
How did this apparently very annoying artist, this identity theft twin and a bartender end up together?
Well, the classic introduction for a Call of Cthulhu story, the sort of you all meet in a tavern equivalent, is that you're all called to the reading of the will of some distant colleague or family member or person from your life, and they leave you a note saying, oh, dear God, I was part of some terrible cult, and we left something in the attic of a farmhouse, or some other, terrible set of instructions that are left for you. And then after being bound in one supernatural event, you tend to see between the lines of society and you hear about the others, and then as a collection tend to go through more and more like that. That's the standard setup.
All right.
I want something more eccentric.
I want it to be the reading of your dead sister's will.
Oh. Well, that's interesting, because the reading of my dead sister's will would be the reading of my will.
Yeah.
Because we faked that, right?
Right.
But myself doesn't. I don't have anything really to my name at that point, right? Which could be interesting as well. Or maybe I did have a little bit and I have to give it away, but my sister had more, and maybe hers was more prestigious.
Well, it would be weird for her to die and like not leave a will if she had so much.
Exactly.
Maybe you could have left some kind of, even if it's just like in memory of, or left some letters or whatever. Something a little more eccentric. Perhaps your character, Agatha witnessed Agatha believes that the murder of Sybil was somehow supernatural in nature. You have some kind of piece of information that you believe, marks the person who did it as, being part of a cult or being in access to dark powers. So as part of this fake will reading, you call on yours, some companions or some friends that you have to come and help you investigate or something like that. And you are trying to, prove your disguise to them. Otherwise, the other classic is that we all happen to be in one location when a disaster happens.
Oh, yeah.
Where we're all there's a great scenario called Dead Man's Stomp. We are all at an underground jazz bar listening to a performance, and suddenly a bunch of gangsters come in and shoot up someone on the stage while everyone's taking shelter. And the gangsters are running away. The body on the stage lurches back to its feet and begins to crawl through the hall, clearly undead. And the adventure goes from there.
Oh, wild. I was thinking, what if like instead of like meeting by happenstance, what if it was like I hired the local artist, local renowned artist to do some art
on your crocodiles.
Maybe on the crocodiles, or more realistically, like just like maybe a memorial mural.
Yep.
Or something in the mansion, in the estate. And maybe as part of that, we needed to do some renovations to highlight it better. And maybe, James, your character uncovered something hidden within the walls, which kind of hints towards that supernatural, like, death more of my sibling. And that it wasn't it wasn't exactly a mistaken identity thing like I thought it was.
I love that.
Right?
That sounds fantastic. So I'm coming to you with this evidence. And yeah, that sounds brilliant.
Yeah. And I also love like my bartender friend from my Agatha days that I always confided in, probably the one person that knows my secret. And maybe after my sibling's death, I still kind of, pulled you in. I'm the only person that, you're the only person I really fully confided in.
Well, my one connection was to a fellow player. It said it was to prove myself, but obviously, like, we can change that around too, because that was another random roll, so we can adjust things as necessary.
Yeah.
But yeah, potentially the only person that knows that you are not who, like, I know you well enough to know that you're not who you say you are.
Exactly. Like there's maybe some mannerisms of Agatha that you're seeing in Sybil. And you're wondering why you're called to the estate for some unconnected things, right? Yeah. Yeah. I think that would be a really fun story to tell and kind of see like the underside of this estate possibly that might have had its hand in some
tunnels below the ground.
Having just watched Muppets Haunted Mansion last night, I am all for Spooky House.
Yeah.
I have not seen Muppets Haunted Mansion. It's some of the darker horror movies, turn me off a little bit. So
right. Well, it can be really scary. Like, it can be really tough. My kids watched it before bed, and it might have been too much. It's a pretty creepy one. Yeah. No, I love like a good room behind a room in a mansion kind of a thing. Like, that's a great vibe. That's a great vibe.
Haunted Mansion sounds amazing.
Yes. I love it. I hope that there's like a summoning circle in the basement.
Oh, there has to be, right?
Duh.
Little do you know, Sybil was very, very involved in the occult.
Yeah. Exactly.
Why does her closet have so many cloaks in it?
I know. These are not a fashion.
These aren't cloaks, they're robes, I'll have you know.
Sorry. The hood is the difference. I'm sorry.
Yep. Oh, that sounds amazing.
I love it.
I want to play this.
I know, I do too, really badly.
It'd be a lot of fun. Did the collection of you have an idea of where the arc would ultimately lead your characters? What your your character's personal story arc would be?
I don't really know like what my like long-term goal is. Ryan, I see Ryan having to like come to terms with like what your real identity is. Like who are you really? Are you Sybil or are you Agatha? And like,
exactly.
Having to make that decision.
Tone, yeah.
As well as like figuring out what all this weird occult stuff is, and can I untangle my family fortune from the undersided side of things.
I was just trying to be a small business owner, and now like it turns out that all of this other stuff is happening, and like can I ever go back to normal? Can I ever just go back to the slaughterhouse?
As opposed to the literal slaughterhouse, yeah.
Right.
Fantastic.
I like it. I like a visual of like the slaughterhouse having the neon sign, but the S is like kind of flashes in and out.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Very clever.
Perfect. Neon signs big in the 20s.
I don't know.
I think they were actually. They came
really?
With No, I haven't actually put this in a scenario yet, but the neon was just becoming a thing. Yeah, I think it had been discovered a while back, but it was just starting to get popularized. And there were these traveling salesmen who would walk around with suitcases filled with like neon rods to show off all of like neon stuff. So I had this idea that I was going to put into a scenario that I wrote a while ago, set in this rural town where it's right out in the middle of the country, no phone lines, and it's very, very isolated, but there's neon signs everywhere because this town like really thought it was cool, so they bought out the entire stock of this one thing. So you walk into the middle of like amongst these farms and stuff, and there's like weird neon signs on every thing.
I love that.
Yeah,
what a cool aesthetic.
It is so creepy.
Oh, I love that.
The neon glow in a horror setting is it just adds so much atmosphere, especially if it gets foggy.
Yes,
if it gets foggy and if it like blinks in and out.
It's a nice little bit of spice, isn't it? Yeah.
And I can hear it, right? You can hear that buzz just thinking about it, right?
Yes.
Oh goodness.
Yep.
It's bloody great. Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and get into our advancement discussion and take it up a level.
Take it up a level. Take it up a level.
So in this segment, we like to discuss character advancement and growth. So how does a character level up, quote unquote, in Call of Cthulhu? And how do they change mechanically when that happens?
Yeah. So there's no levels in Call of Cthulhu. But when your character completes a scenario, and some people might put this at the end of each individual session of play, or some people might put this at the end of a milestone achievement. If you're writing pre-written scenarios, you can put it at the end of a section of a story. You are given the opportunity to make a collection of improvement rolls. So on your character sheet, you can see that you have all these spaces for ticks to be made. When you are playing, whenever you succeed a skill roll, you tick it. At the end of play, when you get to one of those advancement points, you make an advancement check for each of the tick skills. And an advancement check is like what we made previously with the education advancement check. So you roll the dice and you actually want to fail this check. And if you fail, you increase the value by a d10. So that means it gets harder and harder to get better, the better you are.
Oh, very interesting. So it sounds like if you space out your use of skills throughout a session, that's just more chances of increasing in those skills, right?
Absolutely. And you will occasionally find situations where you're really struggling to see how you can fit natural world into this situation or something like that. But yeah, in general, you roll stuff, and as you succeed it, you'll have the chance to scale it up. Now, there's not a massive amount of change for characters in Call of Cthulhu compared to some systems. You get a character in Dungeons and Dragons who's been played for 20 sessions and a character in Call of Cthulhu that's been played for 20 sessions, and the disparity between the two is going to be pretty different. But some scenarios will allow you to take on extra things. You can, in your downtime, for example, take courses at the Miskatonic University, study there, and may build up some other skills like that. that. You could also gain access to spells and things like that. Now, spells in Call of Cthulhu are absolutely deadly and best not to be trifled with, but they can give you a very powerful edge.
I mean, that sounds fun. I'm thinking of the skills that you don't start with too. Those are also up for utilizing and advancing, right?
Yes, absolutely. Any skill, you can advance any skill as long as you succeed a check with it. And, some things inside certain scenarios will allow you to check a skill even if you don't succeed in it. For example, if you're playing a game set at a university, you might read a book about something and then, okay, we'll check your, science biology skill and you can advance it.
Oh, very cool. I like that. So it does sound like the narrative has an effect on advancement, but does the advancement have more of an effect on the narrative aside from you're just better at things?
I think the bigger thing about advancement in Call of Cthulhu is the gradual disintegration of your character. And that is the real advancement as your character becomes more and more aware of the Cthulhu mythos. And that is mechanized using the Cthulhu mythos skill. You'll have a skill which starts at 0 when you create a new character called Cthulhu mythos. And as you become exposed to the mythos, it slowly grows.
Oh.
And this is paralleled by your sanity slowly decaying. Even if you manage to succeed all your rolls and you're doing great and you're managing to even maybe scrape a net positive insanity gain because you didn't see the monster and you got the ritual before you had to fight it. Unfortunately, as your Cthulhu mythos rises, you will lose sanity because your maximum sanity is always 100 minus your Cthulhu mythos skill.
Oh, no.
So as your Cthulhu mythos grows, you become inherently less sane. And if you were to ever reach 100 Cthulhu mythos, then there is no room for sanity for someone who truly understands what is beyond.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. Oh, it's so weird because like until you mentioned the sanity mechanics again, I completely forgot about them. Like I know what game we're playing. I know what game we're creating characters for. But like everything else, it's like, oh yeah, failure. Oh, that's you're probably going to fail a lot, but you're also going to lose your mind.
Absolutely. Sanity mechanics. And, it really, as you lose sanity, it becomes easier to lose sanity because you are lowering your sanity score. So when you make sanity checks, it becomes easier and easier to fail. Your values for your temporary bouts of insanity get lower and lower and lower. Definite bouts of insanity get lower and lower and lower. And it just becomes more and more complicated. You are more and more likely to run into issues very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So advancement, more of like, I guess, advancement towards death, regression, if you will.
Mm-hmm. No, it definitely advances the stakes. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, James, is there anything else that we want to say about Call of Cthulhu before we head out?
Well, look, I know that fans of this podcast will have a really wide exposure to a bunch of tabletop role-playing games because you've done such a good job explaining so many of them. So I don't need to do the standard, try some things that, aren't maybe the mainstream tabletop role-playing games. You're going to have a great time. Obviously Call of Cthulhu is still relatively mainstream compared to a lot of indie TTRPGs. But, my pitch to the standard TTRPG gamer is still to try and get them to try some other stuff. But to your audience, I guess I would say that Call of Cthulhu, for me, and I think for hopefully some of you, has a really special place and will have a really special place because it allows you to tell these really, really deep, thrilling, slow burn stories that are focused on investigation and that are focused on mystery. If you look at films like John Carpenter's The Thing and you think that is just fantastic, and if you look at these, thrilling stories where humanity is kind of made small and the actions of the individual are superseded by the enormity of the cosmos, stories like Arrival, stories like Annihilation, innumerable works of fiction that I could mention, then this really gives you a vessel to tell those stories in an extraordinary way. It is a historical joy and I really, really encourage you to check it out.
Absolutely. Well, James, thank you so much for joining us to talk about Call of Cthulhu.
Hey, thanks for having me. It was great to be here.
Absolutely. Can you remind everyone where they can find you online and what sort of things you're working on?
Absolutely. I am on Twitter as RoboPelican. You can catch me streaming on the Chaosium YouTube channel and on the Chaosium Twitch channel. And if you follow me on Twitter, I'm sure you will hear about all the other projects I'm working on. So there you go.
Well, thank you again for joining us, and thank you to everyone for listening.
Call to action.
Yeah, like that. Well, Ryan, that's it. We finally covered Call of Cthulhu.
Finally.
Finally, we did it.
It's only been, almost 3.5 years?
Yep. But it was a lot of fun. And I think I said it before, but I can't believe that I haven't gotten to play this game because it's exactly what I want in a game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've heard it on some APs here and there, but it was really interesting learning about the system firsthand and seeing how everything's made. Yeah.
And I really like, we got to talk a little bit about Pulp Cthulhu and some of the other kind of variations of it too. So that there's a little something for everybody here. If that sort of failure that's very likely in this system isn't your thing, then, there are some other options for you to kind of make it your game, but still do the sort of investigative cosmic horror kind of thing. So
yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So, we are going from this series to kind of an extended break. Let's do some call to action before we let everybody go.
Absolutely. First up, we've got a couple of Kickstarters to remind you about. Check out the Haunted Hill Academy Kickstarter in the show notes. It's a pretty great game, and it does need some help getting funded as of the time of this recording. So it would be awesome if you stop on by. It's only $5 to get the rules, $15 to get a well-presented PDF. And honestly, that's a steal for a game that sounds like you could have a lot of fun with.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of options possible in that game. So very good deal.
Absolutely. Also check out the Questlandia Kickstarter, which has already funded, but there are options to get some of the other great games that come from this team as well.
In addition to that, next week is a Catacon. We will both be there and planning some games. We also have our panel on Saturday where we create random characters with people attending the panel. It was so much fun last time. Honestly, one of the most fun con panel experiences I've had. It was great. So if you are available during that time, if you're attending, please go ahead and sign up. We would love to see you there.
Absolutely. Also, you can check out the One Shot Network Secret Archive for our bonus content released just this last week, where we cover my game, Our Final Gathering, The Dreaded Reflections of the Immortal Soul. And it's really fun. I'm going to be playing that at a Catacon as well. So if you're signed up for the game, one of the 4 people that have already signed up, and you are members of the Secret Archive, you can get a little taste of how the game works before you go. Then I don't have to explain it as much. I'll still explain it. Don't worry. Okay. It's fine.
That leaves us with one last order of business. Review time.
Woo-hoo.
We need a song for that too. That is right. We have a review to read. If you want your 5-star review read on here, you can make us feel amazing, and we can shower you with thanks. Please leave it wherever you can leave reviews, on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser or Stitcher or, wherever else you leave reviews. I'm sure I'm leaving out something. We are about to read one from Tentacosaurus on Podchaser. Is that tentacles and a dinosaur together?
It's very possible. That sounds really awesome.
If it is Tentacosaurus, please let us know because that's amazing. This podcast gave me a lot of great insight into so many marvelous games. The hosts bring their experience, enthusiasm, and a lot of fun to the table. Their guests often bring their own unique viewpoints. This podcast is a delightful showcase for a fun hobby. Thank you so much. I love that the number of times we get called delightful, too. It's just like a fun.
I love it.
It's great.
We are delightful. And
we are delightful.
and very modest.
Absolutely. So humble.
So humble. Well, thank you again, Tentacosaurus. And that's all we have for this month. It's actually the end of the month, which is unusual for our series to conclude. But next month, we're going to be taking a hiatus. We're both going to a catacon, so that's taking up our time. But we might have some sort of content in November possibly to release. I don't know if there's going to be a spotlight. I don't know if there's just going to be a fun little thing that we do.
We are going to see what we are up for.
Maybe.
How quickly Ryan is able to unpack.
Maybe we can do a recording in person at a catacon. To just cover a micro game or something.
Yeah,
and
that would be
throw
fun.
that in the feed. That would be a lot of fun. So we'll see what we do. I'm bringing my cool setup, and I've got 2 awesome mics that we're going to be throwing out there. So maybe it'll just be nice to do that for once.
Yeah. So hopefully the goal is that we have something in November, but we will not have a regular series just because of us being gone at a catacon and Ryan's move, and then also Thanksgiving and my birthday are in there somewhere. So it's just like a lot. It's just a lot.
Absolutely.
So
we'll see if we can set up a recording for business as usual in December, but December might be delayed a little bit as well, knowing that all of that holiday stuff is in there too.
Yeah, and it has to get recorded in November to release in December. So absolutely.
So until we're back, please stay safe, everyone. Drink some water, take care of yourselves, get vaccinated, and keep making those amazing people. We'll see you next time. Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can also be found on Twitter at CreationCast or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Bolter, and I can be found on Twitter at Lord Neptune or online at lordneptune.com. Our other host, Amelia Antrim, can be found on Twitter at Ginger Reckoning. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast they originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game systems used and today's guests can be found in the show notes. If you'd like to leave us a rating or review, we have links to various review platforms out there, including Apple Podcasts, in our show notes. Also, check the show notes for links to our other projects. Thanks for joining us, and remember, we find that the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We will see you next time.
now we gotta read some show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs. Character Creation Cast is hosted by the One Shot Podcast Network. If you enjoyed our show, visit oneshotpodcast.com, where you'll find other great shows like NeoScum.
NeoScum is a narrative comedy podcast featuring 5 Chicago improvisers antagonizing their way through the role-playing classic Shadowrun. It follows a group of misfits and outsiders: Z, the acerbic cyber troublemaker; Pox, the candy junkie klepto from across the pond; Tech Wizard, the public access actor with a petulant thirst for adventure, and Dak Rambo, the nastiest trucker this side of the Robo-Mason-Dixon. Join the irascible NeoScum crew on a puerile rockin' road trip through a weirdo world of tomorrow, doling out street justice to every deeb they encounter, whether they deserve it or not.
All right.
Great.
All right, waveforms.
I clicked it.
One.
Yep,
Huzzah.
looks like my Audacity is recording just fine. Might move
Perfect.
my microphone a little bit closer, just to. Ooh.
It doesn't matter if we can see it.
I suppose not. All right, yeah. Okay. Great. So ready to go when you are, I suppose.
Perfect. So if we're all set, I'll give us a 5 count of silence to pick up background noise, so we can get rid of that in post editing.
Can you
And
wait? I'm
then-
sorry. I know I'm supposed to be the professional one here. I don't have any glasses over here, and I would
Oh.
like to see. So, 2
Yeah,
seconds.
glasses are. I knew something was different. And I was like,
Yeah.
wait,
Show,
something's different.
show off my current glasses setup because I've suffered with them. This is my only pair of remaining glasses, missing one
Oh.
lens and
Oh, no.
one arm.
Wait, why is the lens that's missing is on the opposite side of the arm?
I couldn't tell you. Oh, it's because this part's broken too. If you see it, actually
Oh,
Yeah.
goodness.
The
triple
whole
break.
thing.
Oh, those poor glasses.
Yeah, we're still in very hard lockdown down here in Melbourne, so it's tough to go
Oh,
out.
yeah.
They're only taking emergency appointments and all that
Oh, boy.
fun stuff.
Well, then there's Amelia, who's got like 500 pairs of glasses. So if any do break,
So,
look at that.
yeah.
It's just
Wow.
ridiculous.
I've got,
Ridiculous. Look at this.
I have 15 pairs. So you would think that one of these pairs would be on my desk. But no.
It's a
you
pretty
would
cool
be-
setup.
You would be wrong.
I'm sitting here with 6-year-old glasses on right now,
Nice.
which the prescription is virtually identical to what it was back then, so it's not horrible. And then I've got an older pair as well that I was using for 3 years before that, and an older pair as well that would probably hurt my brain if I used them.
Yeah. No, I
My super emergency backup pair.
Yeah. I know people, though, that they just keep replacing the lenses in the same frames and they never get new ones. But
I think I did do that on these ones, and come to think
like
of it.
them as a statement piece.
Yeah.
And buy, I have a pair of rainbow colored ones. I have,
I mean,
some regular
it's,
boring black ones. I have.
It's a good fashion choice.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Now that we're all glassed up, let's go ahead. We'll give a 5 count of silence. I'm going to stop for just a second. Forgot the backup recording.
no
There we go.
worries. Do you want to do you want to retake any of the start or?
No, you're
No.
perfectly fine. If we do lose it for some reason, we'll figure something out.
Okay, I'm always
It'll be
happy to send back another
I
introduction or whatever.
I will know shortly after we're done recording, because I'm going to be editing it right away.
Okay.
Side note, we do have the ABCs of Cthulhu book for my kids, and they both love it.
Really?
Yeah, we've read it to them since they were 2 years old, and sometimes earlier, and they're just and they've got a little a Cthulhu plushie, a little
Okay.
green Cthulhu plushie. that they love.
Cthulhu's so adorable, right?
He is adorable when he's got these big cartoon eyes and these little
Great.
squid.
So now you've taught your children to not be afraid of Cthulhu.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well have a little less fear when a cosmic horror is coming down upon the world.
That's true. There's nothing you can do about it anyway. You might as well think, aw,
Aw, look at Cthulhu. He's
Just
adorable. And
die
then,
happy thinking he's snuggly.
he might spare you, thinking that he's nice and cuddly.
Exactly.
You're the first person that really told him that you think so.
Exactly.
That's all we needed.
That's all.
I think so. On a non-show related note, I am going to go put this dog away because she is getting into everything.
Oh, lovely.
That's fine.
I was going to try and let her roam free, but she is not being responsible with that. So I will be right back.
No worries.
Not a problem.
Is this the kind of content you're after in general?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah, this is perfect.
All right. Just let me know if you want me to talk more or less or whatever.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Yeah, a bit of fun. So
I have no idea what type of character I'm going to make though, but we'll see. We'll see what the options are.
Yeah, it's pretty open. So you're U.S. Central. So you're in the middle of the U.S. then?
Yep. We both are in Wisconsin.
Oh, fantastic.
Which is nestled by the leftmost or the westmost Great Lakes.
Oh, great. Yeah. That's I've been to Chicago and to Detroit, so that's as close as I've gotten.
Oh yeah. Right north of Chicago is where we are a bit. So I think Amelia is about an hour and a half north of Chicago, and I'm about three to 3.5 hours north.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I'm in Milwaukee.
Yeah. There is a Chaosium team member who lives in Milwaukee.
Nice.
Yeah, Jim Lauder, who is the fiction line editor, amongst other things.
Oh, that's
Very
cool.
Used to work for TSR.
That would be why he's in Milwaukee.
That makes a lot of sense.
We're like right near Lake Geneva.
Yeah.
Which is where TSR
the
was.
birthplace of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Scenic Lake. Somebody got really mad at me on Twitter because I was like, "Ooh, Scenic Lake Geneva," and they were like, "It's really nice there," and I was like, "Okay," but it's still like right outside of like Kenosha and like this sort of like very like Rust Belt area of like, you know, factories that are empty and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, there's nothing to see in Lake Geneva other than like a really nice shopping mall.
There is a D20
they got very
shrine.
offended at that.
Yeah. I think there's a D20 shrine near the Gygax place.
Oh, yeah.
Down in there.
Definitely.
So, yeah. People go there and bless their D20s, which is really hilarious.
That's great.
Yeah.
I really don't know much about American geography. I've been across the South, but that's about it. So I'll have to, well, maybe not given your description of it, but one day I'll make it up there and I'll be able to confirm whether or not and get someone angry on
There's
Twitter
a lot of nicer places in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I would not, Lake Geneva would not be my top choice. Like, you can go there and bless your D20. It's at like 45 minutes-ish north of Chicago. But yeah, if you were going to go to Wisconsin, I don't think that would be on the top list of places I would send you.
Absolutely.
Recording.
That was a very like low energy countdown this time, I feel.
Well, it's weird because it's like a mid-recording clicky instead of like a fresh, like, it's Sunday morning, let's do it.
That's
this
true.
This was like, it's Sunday evening, we're halfway through another recording, we're going to do this during a break.
Well, I mean, yeah, during the break, that is the weird part.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. All right.
It's your second clicky of the day. You know,
Second
usually
clicky.
cold open is like a first clicky, like fresh
That's
clicky.
true.
And this is
or a third clicky.
That's true.
Which is also exciting. And usually the second clicky with the guest here it makes more sense, but you know, I digress and I'm just wasting our break time. So
yeah. So hold on. I opened the one that says cold open.
Yeah.
But it's like a full outline.
It should be a full outline plus the cold open at the bottom.
Oh, okay. I was expecting it to just be the cold open. It's cool.
Nope. I just was lazy.
Okay.
I did a copy and
love a good copy paste.
It's fine.
So does this character creation process, in terms of us actually applying the skills and stuff, go into the podcast as well? Just out of curiosity.
Oh yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, we take care of we take out all the space, and all the uninteresting portions, but definitely the discussion about all of this goes in.
Excellent.
Yeah, we like to give a nice, well-presented, raw experience of the character creation process.
That's good.
Hold on. I gotta find a 100. I, for some reason, only have. Or I'll just do what I did before and decide which one's the 10th place. Oh, no.
After I roll.
No, the red one is always the 10th place, Ryan. The purple one is the 1. Jeez, come on. Okay, well, it's not a matching set, but it's all right. You got a sparkly one and a rainbow one.
Chaosium.
What if I'm a MILF?
Well, I don't think that there is a... let me check the appendix for MILF.
Dear Chaosium, I would like...
All right. So now we can stop the Audacity recording. No.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. All right.
We did it.
We can go ahead and stop.
Well
That's
done.
Hey.
Well, I think I went up an octave there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's new and exciting.
I know.
I'm going to take a sip of this soda that I went to grab. I said, I have to grab something to drink. And did I drink it? No. What did I do? I ate a handful of pretzels, which is the opposite of drinking something before we started recording.
Yep.
They were really good, though. They were cabin pretzels is what my aunt calls them.
Oh, there you go. So you're rethirstifying yourself.
Right. But okay, so they're pretzels. You just like buy a bag of pretzels and then you get some of the like popcorn oil or whatever. And you like put a little bit of that on there, just enough to like kind of, you know, get them wet. But then you take a packet of like the ranch seasoning and dump it in there and like mix it. So then they're like ranch flavored pretzels.
Oh, bizarre.
They're so good. Like they're so addictive. Like my kids and I in the last like 3 days have eaten a whole bag of pretzels. It's really
I'm not a big fan of ranch seasoning, but I can see the allure. Like if you do the same thing, but maybe with like Parmesan, I'd be all over that. Like maybe like a garlic Parmesan.
No, you lost me at not ranch. you just, that's it. I can't.
I'm sorry. Ranch is only for wings, boneless
No, ranch is for
wings.
Everything, Ryan. There is nothing that ranch is not for. If you would let me brush my teeth with ranch dressing, I would do it.
Oh, we're learning a lot today about each other.
I love ranch. Eleanor is like that, though. She would like, if you let her dip it in ranch, she will eat it.
Yeah.
Like broccoli. She's like, broccoli's great if it has ranch. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. It doesn't take away the nutritional value, right? Like ranch is not good for you, but it doesn't make the broccoli also not good.
No, it just adds not good stuff into the good stuff.
Right. But you're still getting the vitamins and stuff from the vegetables.
That's fair.
You're still eating the vegetables.
That's true. That's true.
You just get, other stuff too.
Stuff that's ranch.
It's ranch. I don't know. Honestly, I think that like ranch could be its own food group and I would be okay with that. It
kind of is. It's just this like creamy thing that the people either dip or pour onto things.
Okay. So the question is then like, what are your thoughts on mayonnaise?
Mayo is the devil's salad dressing, and Miracle Whip is highly superior.
Oh, no. No. You know what? Like we are very different people, right? Like we are very different people. We have managed to make this podcast work until now. When you have crossed the line.
Threw down the gauntlet.
You have crossed the line, Ryan.
Okay. To be fair, I will eat mayo if it's the only option. I don't snub my nose at it in terms of like it's inedible. But Miracle Whip is just better. It's tangy. It's got a nice whip to it.
I don't want tangy. No, like the point of mayonnaise is to like lubricate my sandwich.
Right. Well, that's what mayo. That's what Miracle Whip
like
is.
A tangy flavor though. Like, I don't want
it gives such a nice
little. I don't want it tangy. I just want it wet.
I mean, that's fair. But like the thing that turns me off to mayo. Last sidetrack on this. When you scoop it, it's like, I don't know, the consistency. It's like gelled. It's like scooping into Jell-O.
In mayonnaise?
Yeah.
It's because it's
like
an emulsion.
Like a fresh. I know, it's weird.
It's supposed to be like that.
It's weird. I want more of like a smooth peanut butter thing instead of.
It's eggs.
It's eggs.
Yeah, if you wanted peanut butter, then you could put peanut butter on a sandwich, Ryan. It's mayonnaise.
I know.
Like eat your peanut butter turkey sandwich somewhere else.
I don't know what's going on.
No.
You can just say Ashley standing behind you. Like ask her how she feels about mayonnaise. Miracle Whip.
She loves mayonnaise. She does not like Miracle Whip.
See?
And we're married. So if we can get along.
He's a Republican and I'm a Democrat. She likes mayonnaise and I like Miracle Whip.
Opposites attract.
I guess if you and Ashley can make it work, then you and I can make a podcast.
I know. It's I like saving people's lives. You like raising people's lives.
Yeah.
From the dead.
Yeah. So you just like to save them beforehand.
I know. See, it's they're both the same thing. It's just different states.
I like to let people live a long, full life and then do my thing.
Yeah.
You interrupt.
The process. I'm trying to give them that long, full life so they're more seasoned for when they come to your plate.
I just want them to be more seasoned. With ranch. Sure. Ranch flavored corpses.
Oh no. Metaphorically.
Yeah. Those are words I just said.
Ranch is the spice of life, apparently.
If you're in the Midwest, yeah. For sure.
Welcome to our ranch talk. This could be our talking nog.
Just our once a year talking ranch.
Yeah, just talking ranch. I don't know.
Should we do a cold open?
Let's do a cold. Oh, welcome to the 6 minutes of outtakes, everybody. It's fine. All right. So cold open. Call to action. We got a review to read.
Awesome.
And then we're all good. Whew. All right. I'll give us a 5 count. Okay. I don't even need my my light on because I don't have any decorations in here.
Yeah, it looks really like I was trying to figure out like I was like something's not right. It's not. I only have my my character creation cast banner on the door for sound suppression. Your bookshelves are empty.
Bookshelves are all empty for the most part. I mean, I've got some folders that didn't fit in the boxes that I had. I do have a box down here though that's got like my swords and stuff and
your swords.
I've got like these tiny little swords.
Oh.
There's
I was like I can't say that when I moved I had a whole box of swords.
It's like a whole set of them. It's just like 3 little tiny swords. They're just plastic. They might be metal. That almost sounds metal.
Huh.
These swords are metal. Yeah, and just my decorations and stuff from the shelves.
Yeah.
Open. But yeah.
End of an era.
End of an era. This is the last recording. This right here is the last recording. Right now? Right here, right now, the last recording in this studio. Forever.
Wow.
Yeah. That's kind of heavy.
I'm in my now 3rd place of recording. Well, so for a while I was in the closet and then I moved into like my room. So that was in the same, we'll count that as the same place. Mm-hmm. And then I was at my parents' house and then now I'm in my apartment.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I never had like a dedicated like recording space other than the closet, which was my kids' playroom. Mm-hmm. So, wow.
Well, I know.
I'm like weirdly sad about this.
Me too. It's an emotional experience to leave this behind. It's the end of an era, and the beginning of the unknown room quality of my tonal voice at the next place.
It'll be good though.
It should be fine. I mean, if I can get rid of your reverb, it's pretty easy to do much of anything. I was thinking about that because I'm like so like the way I have my computer is like I'm actually facing into the corner of my room. Yeah. And so I was thinking I should maybe like put some like soundproofing. Like if I do it like right behind my computer, that should probably, because that's the direction that my voice is going, right? That would deaden a lot, yeah.
Okay. I'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Anyway, cold open. Now that we're 9 minutes into this.
Now we're 9 minutes into it.
Okay.
Wonderful. All right, here we go. I'll give us a 5 count. Last set of fingers from the sauna studio.
I tried really hard to be quiet.
I know. Oh, Lord. And we're done. The last recording to hit stop in the studio.